The book of Daniel tells us the story behind the little horn Antichrist and the area from which he arises. Daniel describes the conquest of King Darius in Persia by Alexander the Great. The Grecian kingdom is described as a goat, and the Persian kingdom the ram. A goat came rushing out of the west, moving so fast that his feet didn't touch the ground. He had one prominent horn between his eyes. He came toward the ram, which I had seen standing beside the river, and rushed at him with all his force. I watched him attack the ram. He was so angry that he smashed into him and broke the two horns. The ram had no strength to resist. He was thrown to the ground and trampled on, and there was no one who could save him. Alexander the Great conquered Persia and King Darius. The goat grew more and more arrogant, but at the height of his power, his horn was broken. In its place 4 prominent horns came up, each pointing in a different direction. At the height of Alexander's conquest, he suddenly died, and his 4 generals divided his goat empire between themselves. The Bible then describes the little horn Antichrist coming from one of the parts of Alexander's divided kingdom. Out of one of these 4 horns grew a little horn, whose power extended toward the south and the east and toward the promised land. It grew strong enough to attack the army of heaven. These were the divisions of Alexander's kingdom, and it's only from one of these divisions which the Antichrist can appear. He cannot come from Rome or America, because the Bible clearly says that he comes out of one of the 4 horns, which represent the divided kingdom of Alexander. And Alexander's 4 generals never extended their kingdoms further than the Middle East, and the farthest northern part was Greece. Daniel chapter 11 narrows the area even more by calling the Antichrist the king of the north. The king of the north was the Seleucus kingdom, which included Turkey, Syria, Iraq and Iran. And it's this area we should be watching for the Antichrist to appear. Let's discover where the Bible says the seat of the beast is located. The Bible even tells us which country to watch for the revival of the beast. It's Turkey. And it's the very country which is now stepping forward, trying to revive the Ottoman Empire, calling it the Neo-Ottoman Order. Turkey is positioning itself as a peace mediator in the Middle East. Israel will sign the 7-year peace agreement with Turkey and put their trust in Turkey, relying on them for security in the Middle East. But they will literally be signing a covenant with the Antichrist himself, who will be mediating this peace deal between Israel and many other Muslim nations. The Bible calls this a covenant with death, and clearly tells us that Israel will rely on the Turkish Antichrist until he attacks them. Turkey was the seat of the Ottoman Empire, but it was also the seat of the Eastern Roman Empire. Jesus himself told us that the beast would come from Turkey. And to the angel of the church in Pergamos, which is in Turkey, write: He who has the sharp sword with 2 edges says these things. I know your works, and where you live, even where Satan's seat is, where Satan dwells. Jesus is telling us not only that Satan dwells in Turkey Pergamos, but that his very seat of power is in Turkey, not Rome. Turkey was the Eastern Roman Empire. Rome moved its capital to Constantinople. It's from there which we should expect to see the prince who comes mediating a peace deal with Israel. Now let's compare the next verse, where Satan gives that very same seat to the beast. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. Did you catch that? Where did Jesus say the seat of Satan was? Pergamos, Turkey. This is the very same seat of power that Satan gives to the Antichrist beast. The Antichrist's seat is in Turkey. The book of Daniel calls him the little horn. Surprisingly, Istanbul, which was the very capital of both the Roman and Ottoman Empire, is shaped just like a little horn. And its very name is the golden horn. The Bible describes the beast having had 7 heads, which describe the kings and their kingdoms. These were Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome. And the Ottoman Empire became the 7th head. The angel said that the 7 heads were 7 kings. Because unless the king of the empire falls, the kingdom remains alive. So when Rome fell, did the Roman Empire fall? No, it moved its king and capital to Turkey. And that kingly line continued right up until it was defeated by the Ottoman Empire. Then Rome and its king fell. The Ottoman Empire is the missing 7th head of a beast. And it has come and gone, without people even realizing it was there. And yet it clearly left its mark on Jerusalem. For the Ottoman Empire is the same empire which rebuilt Jerusalem as it stands today. But how do we know that the Ottoman Empire was the 7th head? Well, from the time of Egypt, right up until 1923, and the end of the Ottoman Empire, there has been an unbroken line of empires or heads ruling the Middle East. The Beast Empire has been alive from Egypt to the Ottoman Empire. But where is the beast now? It's dead. And it's dead because it was only given 7 heads. And the last empire, which was the Ottoman Empire, was given a deadly wound, which killed the whole beast. And there was no empire to take its place. So it died. And it descended into the bottomless pit. Wikipedia says, the empire fought against the Allies in the First World War. And at the end of the war, it was partitioned by the Allies. The Bible says the head of the beast was wounded to death by the sword. The sword, which cut into the beast's 7th and final head, was World War I. And that same sword, of the Allied nations, divided up, or cut up, the Ottoman Empire into the Middle East countries we have today. The Bible says, "And I saw one of his heads, as it were wounded to death. And his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. But its deadly wound will be healed when the 7th head of the Ottoman Empire comes back to life as an 8th empire. And it will ascend from the bottomless pit, and its wound will be healed when all the divided Ottoman nations are reunited under Turkey." These are the 10 horns the Bible speaks of, which are on the beast. These will hand over their power to the Turkish beast, which was ruled by the Caliph, the successor of Muhammad. According to Wikipedia, the name Caliph is translated from the Arabic word Khalifa, meaning successor or substitute. Muslims often say the Caliph is the substitute for Muhammad. But in the Quran, it is used to establish Adam's role as representative of God on earth. Did you catch that? The Quran says Khalifa is like God on earth. And the Caliph is both a religious as well as political leader. And he is a successor to Muhammad and all the prophets. So not only does Caliph mean replacement for God on earth, but the Caliph is also the substitute for Muhammad and all the prophets. Muslims claim that Jesus was just one of their prophets. So the very seat the Caliph holds is not only as God on earth, but substitute for Jesus as well. Amazingly, the word Antichrist does not only mean against Christ, but substitute for Christ as well. The title of Caliph matches this description perfectly.